Hey guys, welcome back to Toddler Talk. This is Emily, your licensed speech language pathologist. For today's topic, I just wanted to cover addressing behaviors with small children. This is a difficult thing for lots of parents and caregivers, so I just wanted to touch base with you guys about a couple steps that you can go through to improve your children's behaviors. So the first thing to do when your child is acting out is to first figure out the reason behind the behavior. Some of the most common reasons for children's behaviors are defiance, frustration, and sensory needs. So when you look at these three areas, each area needs to have at least one, preferably two, reprimands or reactions for each of those types of behaviors. So for example, if a child is being defiant, they can be defiant in different ways. So we want to make sure that the punishment meets the crime. So for example, if your child is screaming or throwing a tantrum and not listening when you say no, some of the things that you might do first is to simply ignore the behavior. And if that doesn't work, you might look into something a little more severe, such as a timeout or a spanking, whatever you choose. And then for frustrating behavior, that's such as taking a toy from a child and they get upset, you might do things like redirecting the child, such as giving them another option or something else to play with, or getting their attention towards something else. And then another thing that you could do with frustration is to negatively reinforce the behavior. So if they start throwing a tantrum or something, you might take something away, or you might ignore them, things of that nature. You might have them politely ask for something that they want. As long as you're being consistent with it, you want to have at least one, if not two, reactions to that behavior as well. Another thing is just simply sensory behaviors. So if a child is being rough during play, or they're biting, or they're squeezing your hands, and it is because of a sensory need, they're needing some input, the biggest thing for sensory behaviors is just to give them a substitution that would be appropriate. So for example, if they're biting, you might use a chewy tube or some kind of piece of food for them to bite on, or some kind of rubber type toy to give them something else to channel their energy into. Or you might use a big ab ball if they're hitting a lot, something like that. And when they're hitting, you would instead give them the ball so that they can start hitting the ball, and you can model it for them instead of hitting others. So those are just some examples. And the biggest thing after that is just to make sure that you're being consistent. Parents, grandparents, other people that watch the kids, just stick with the plan and they'll figure it out. So just to review, I'll show you this little piece of paper. All right, so the first step in addressing the behaviors with your children is to determine the reason for the behavior. Is this a defiant behavior? Are they telling you no and they just don't want to do what you say? Are they frustrated because they want something or something was taken away? Or is it a sensory need? And then you determine how are you going to react to that behavior initially, and what are you going to do if that initial reaction doesn't work. So for instance, defiance, are you going to ignore it? And then what if that doesn't work? Are you going to give time out or a spanking? And then frustration, what are you going to do when your child becomes frustrated? Are you going to redirect them and offer them something else in exchange? Sensory, are you going to give them something to put their sensory needs into, as that would be more appropriate for them? A couple good things that go along with this are like bear hugs or weighted materials. It just depends on what sensory that your child is needing. Is it more hands-on? Is it visual? Therapy brushes are great. And then just to be consistent with the behavior beyond that. And that's it. If you have questions, feel free to comment below.